we have a group of thinkers, if you're looking kind of at this narrative going through ancient philosophy to Augustine to the contemporary problems, right? Which may or may not be historically how it happens. It's at least a story we tell about how we got here.
Phails at philosophy.
But you have a group of thinkers who, and I think this is an interesting thing to kind of look through. Like, as you come into the world, you look around, like even as a person, but you can recapitulate it for history. What do you see? You begin to notice that there are these patterns to the world around you. Like, the problem is not that the world is composed of a chaos of indeterminacy. The problem is that you look around in the world and you see that, oh, there are things that follow from other things.
Cause and effect.
Right? And the only way to make sense of that is to develop something like cause and effect. That, yeah, when I push this thing, something as simple as like when I push the rock forward, the rock goes forward, right?
Yeah.
And that happens every time. And over again, that kind of thing happens.
Law of nature, yeah.
Right. And then I begin to notice these patterns, and I notice that I have, one, that the patterns are there, but then there's this second problem, which is that I seem to be an agent. I seem to be a cause. I can push the rock.
And maybe I seem to be a cause, and there's a blindness to the cause that occurred before I'm
not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so hold back. Yeah, because I'm just at the point where I notice
I'm a cause.
That I'm a cause.
I'm making change in the world.
Right. And that's curious, right? That's curious because my agency doesn't seem to be caused. My agency seems to come from the fact that I look at the rock, I say, that's curious. I could push that forward like the other rocks that I've pushed forward. Let me see if it happens. That whole process of decision making, that's what we mean by agency. Like, that's what we mean when we look at that and think about that, but that there's this initiating action that I seem to be able to engage in.
Like a baby starting to figured out the world. They might push a rock, and then they might push something else and say, oh, that moves at a different speed. Or
so then I'm like, am I in my initiation of action? So I could set up, let's think about pool tables, right? Classical representation of causation. The ball, am I the kind of initiating energy that kind of makes the ball go forward, like the person with the pool cue, like outside the pool table, that comes into the frame of the pool table and hits the ball, and then the ball bounces around and hits other balls, right? Am I the kind of agent that comes outside of this realm of determinacy and causation? I seem to be.
What ball hits me before I hit
Or
the ball?
am I the kind of thing that is a ball being hit,
Yeah.
And it seems like we're the former. It seems like we're the person with the pool cue outside the frame.
And no balls hitting us.
And that there's no ball hitting us. But then we do notice that, like, oh, Phil says, hey, push that forward, and I push it forward. Like, you influence me. I would have never thought to push it forward if you had that, I'd say it. So, other people influence me. So there's at least ways in which I'm shaped by that. And also, if I think about it and say, well, if it's just me that determines it without it, what determines that? Am I just acting on whim? But that's that pure randomness, that indeterminacy doesn't solve the problem of free will any better than determinacy. That, I think, is one of the benefits of the extensive analysis of free will that happens in the late 20th century that he's documenting in philosophy. And I think that realization that indeterminacy is just as much a problem for a theory of free will as determinism.
Well, they were saying that neither of those
neither of them really allow you to have free will.
Right.
Because free will is something else if it exists. I mean, I think that's the thing, is like, it's not something that somehow invalidates determinism, but something that has agency, nevertheless, that exists within that. How do you explain that? the framework of analytic causation can't explain it because it's a concept that escapes causation, right? It's a concept that says you are capable in some way as an agent of being a cause without merely being an effect. That there's a responsibility you have as an agent to not merely be a patient, right? Not merely be a receiver of effects, and then any causes you come are just a result of that. But there's a curse, for lack of a better word, upon you, right?
A curse.
Like you've got to make decisions. Like, you can believe in determinism all day long, and you still got to figure out when you're playing a video game whether
Yeah,
you should.
I can't stop playing this game and have the world unfold. But I mean, some people would say like that was what you were going to do anyway. When you
I don't see
got
how,
access to
sure.
this information, that's what you do.
I don't understand how that's helpful, right? I don't.
Yeah, I don't see how it's helpful.
Right, and I don't understand. So I think what we see is more the limits of analytic explanatory models for getting at free will. Like, I just think that's part of the problem, is that either we need to use some completely other framework to help us understand what's going on with free will.
Redefine the question, like redefine what free will means.
Or redefine the question, or understand.